News that the suspect in the San Bernardino attack recently visited Saudi Arabia is raising questions about that country's role in supporting radical Islam around the world. CBN News terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck joins us now for more. Eric, how does Saudi Arabia support the spread of radical Islam?
Well, George, this has been going back really for decades, where Saudi Arabia, Mecca is there, and they've kind of been the Mecca in many ways of radical Islam. A few ways, George. Number one, especially here in the West, the Saudis have spent billions and billions of those petrodollars to build radical mosques and radical Islamic schools or madrasas throughout Europe and, yes, here in the United States. The other thing the Saudis do is they have a very strict educational system, George, where in that country, young people are raised up in their schools and taught the tenets of radical Islam, taught to not take Jews and Christians for their friends, taught that jihad is a good thing. We've covered this, George, here on CBN News, these Saudi textbooks and the poison that is in them that helps radicalize people from there. So when you have all this, George, it's no surprise, for instance, that 15 of the 19 9/11 hijackers hailed from Saudi Arabia. The official government-sanctioned educational program in that country is poison.
I think what our viewers don't realize is that the state religion in Saudi Arabia is this thing called Wahhabism. Is there a difference between the state religion of Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia and what ISIS or Al-Qaeda is practicing today across a large swath of the Middle East? Is there a difference?
Well, the Saudi government would tell you that there is, George, because right now they'll say, look, we're fighting Al-Qaeda, we're fighting ISIS. But if you look at it, basically, they believe the same things. Jihad, death to the infidel, Jews and Christians are inferior, women are inferior, etc. They believe the same things. It's just that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are actually acting on those beliefs right now in a violent, very real way. But the ideological groundwork for all of the jihad we're seeing today, whether it's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, stems, number one, from the Muslim Brotherhood. They're kind of the granddaddy of them all, George, when it comes to this modern-day philosophy of restoring the caliphate and violent jihad and expansionist Islam. But look, the Saudis are right behind them in terms of spreading the ideology around the world. Their ideology, the Saudis can plead ignorance and say our hands are clean, but the ideology that their petrodollars are spreading is radicalizing people from Riyadh to Reston, Virginia. This is going on around the world thanks to what the Saudis are teaching.
And I think what makes it more complicated is the fact that, as you mentioned, Saudi Arabia is now fighting ISIS in Iraq and Syria, funding them through either money or through weapons. But at the same time, these guys, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, have also launched attacks against the House of Saud, the royal, establishment in Saudi Arabia. And so they're fighting an enemy that they are at the same time fueling and funding.
Yes, that's the interesting thing about it, George. It has come back to bite the Saudis. They've spent all this money spreading radical Islam and Wahhabism around the world. And now Al-Qaeda and ISIS are saying, hey, you're not Islamic enough. You're not radical enough. You're a tool of the West. That's the main thing, George. They see the Saudi royal family as decadent, as lavish, and as tools of the West, friends of the Americans. So the Saudis, it's coming back on them now. It really has been since 9/11. They have increasingly become a target. And don't think for a second that ISIS would not like to control Mecca and Medina, the two holiest sites in Islam. That's a dream of every radical Islamist, to seize Mecca and Medina. Right now, the Saudi government are the custodians of those cities and the guardians of the two holy mosques in Saudi Arabia. But ISIS and Iran, by the way, on the flip side of this, another avowed enemy of the Saudi government, they've got their eyes on it too.
Now, the United States and Saudi Arabia, they're supposed to have a very, very close alliance. Help our viewers understand, why is the United States not doing, why have they not done historically more to curb the funding, the fueling, and the export of Wahhabism?
Well, since World War II, George, since the days of FDR, we've had very deep relationships, especially on the economic end, with the Saudi royal family. Of course, there's the oil factor. The Saudis have a lot of oil, a lot of petroleum that the West is somewhat reliant on. So That's a big factor, the economic factor there, the business ties there. But in the meantime, we have let this cancer grow where we've kind of looked the other way. Until 9/11, we basically looked the other way and let this cancer spread, let the Saudis do their thing, spreading Wahhabism around the world, building mosques and madrasas here in the West. And by the way, George, something our viewers should know, you cannot build a church in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
You cannot build a synagogue there. You cannot bring a Bible into Saudi Arabia. You cannot wear a cross around your neck in that country. So we're letting them do as they please here in the West, but they're not reciprocating, to say the least, in their country.
Final question, is there any way we can, as you mentioned, get rid of this cancer to stop this Islamic poison coming out of Saudi Arabia? Can the U.S. do anything?
Well, we've been pressuring the Saudis since 9/11. Again, George, not long enough. It's been going on for decades. But since 9/11, we have been pressuring them. But they make small, minimal steps. I believe women can drive now in Saudi Arabia. Welcome to 2015.
Yeah.
They make minimal steps. But those textbooks, we've covered this again on CBN News.
Yeah.
Those textbooks, they may tweak them a little bit. But the message, the totalitarian, anti-Western, anti-Semitic message remains in those textbooks in the educational system. And until they get that right, and not only the Saudis, by the way, the Palestinians, the Iranians, all of their educational systems are like this. Until that gets straightened out, we're going to continue to struggle. That's one facet in the struggle against radical Islam.
Yeah, wow. Eric, thank you so much. I know you do
You
cover so many different angles, so many aspects of terrorism, and I know our viewers are going to really appreciate your analysis on this, the similarities between ISIS and Saudi Arabia and their beliefs and their ideology. Eric Stakelbeck out of our Washington, D.C. Bureau. Sir, thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you, George. Anytime.